All right, so we are finishing week 11, coming into week 12, the last, which means next week we will be announcing the winner of Biggest Transformation Season 12, Phase 1, which is kind of crazy. But before we do all that, let's jump on the scales and see how you did last week.
G to 14.6.
This is Sara, 266.
Name 192.6.
All right, I have our 11-week standings. So after 11 full weeks in 7th place, down 2.3 pounds, 0.96%, Ms. Neela. In 6th place, down 2.6 pounds, 1.59%, Jenna. In 5th place, down 6.8 pounds, 3.07%, Jean. In 4th place, down 14 pounds, 6.26%, Amy. In 3rd place, down 17.8 pounds, 8.46%, Janine. In 2nd place, down 22.8 pounds, having a baby girl, 9.48%, almost at 10%, Natasha, awesome job. And holding down the 1st place spot, down 32.8 pounds, 10.98%, Sara. Awesome job. But Natasha, like you're only 1.5% behind Sara. Like you have closed the gap. You have closed the gap, which I was like, look at that. And so, yeah, 11 weeks into phase 1, 1 week left to go. So this week, obviously we are finishing up we just finished up week 11. We're coming into week 12. And so what one of the things I want to talk about, and I really believe this is a secret weapon for success in life, not just in your weight loss journey, not just in your health journey, but I really believe it's one of the secret weapons to any area that you want to succeed in. And no matter what area I've coached people in, whether it's been health, whether it's been business, whether it's been finances, whether it's been marriage or whatever, we are a culmination of what we do most of the time, never what we do some of the time. And so, when I talk to somebody, they're like, well, I ate that donut. And I'm like, well, come on. Like the donut didn't make us fluffy, right? It's not, we ate that one donut and it's like, no, it's like we're at where we're at because of what we've done most of the time, not what we've done some of the time. And so one of the things that is your secret weapon is consistency. Consistency is a secret weapon to success. Consistency is one of those things that without consistency, you're going to be frustrated because you guys know, like if you're not consistent, what it feels like is 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, 3 steps forward, 4 steps back. Like you're constantly moving forwards and backwards. And it can be frustrating because you feel like you're not making progress. You feel like you're stuck on this hamster wheel. You feel like you're hitting this glass ceiling and it's like, what the heck? Because when you're not consistent, what happens is you're a little bit consistent, but you're a little bit not consistent. And a little bit being not consistent will keep you from getting results. It will keep you from making forward progress and it'll keep you stuck. And that eventually leads to frustration. And ultimately what happens when you stay frustrated so long, I mean, come on, you guys know, when you stay in a state of frustration, you eventually do what? You eventually quit. Like no one's going to stay frustrated forever without being like, ugh. So when we think about consistency, there's this magical thing that consistency leads to, and it's momentum. momentum. And it's when things are easier and they go faster, and that momentum only comes through consistency. And again, this is momentum not in just in health. This is momentum in finances, paying off debt, business, getting a career promotion, like all the things. Consistency leads, it creates momentum. And so when I was losing weight, my first 90 days, I was kind of consistent, sometimes not. I still wound up losing 30, I think it was like 32 pounds in my first 90 days, which wasn't horrible. But the crazy part is after the first month or so of me losing weight, definitely, but I had it dialed in. Like I figured out that every week I got off track, it was going to cost me 3 weeks. And I finally just figured out, like, what am I doing? Why am I eating this stuff? Like, I had this epiphany, this revelation. Like, it was almost like these glasses were taken off my eye and I saw the food for what it really was. And I'm like, Carmen, is you getting off track worth 3 weeks? Is it worth 3 weeks? Were those bites? Was that whatever? Were the crackers and cheese? Was it worth 3 weeks? No. And it was like, no, Carmen, you just need to freaking sew your mouth shut, eat what you're supposed to eat, and get to the goal. Like, and it was for the first time that I saw myself weaker than food. I never would have thought food was stronger than me. Like this inanimate object was stronger than I was. But the proof was in a pudding, and I didn't have to like it. The proof was what it was. Like I was unable to use my self-discipline to not have certain foods. And when I had the revelation that no, like it's just about how fast can I get there? Because when I get there, I'm going to be able to enjoy all these things, and it's not going to set me back 3 weeks. It's going to be just getting back to my ground zero. Like you just got to stop eating the stuff. And my second 90 days, I was so in the zone. I was so just like, let's go. I had my vision was going on all cylinders. I knew who I was. I knew where I was going. I knew the size. I knew all the things. I had been working on my vision board, the Pinterest boards. And on your guys' tracker, you're one of the things about the tracker, it's tracking your consistency. And I know we talked about this in our very first meeting, but it's how many days can you be consistent? And what that is how many days can you check off all the boxes? And what would happen previously is I would get 2 or 3 days in a row, and then I would like fall off the wagon. I would get one day and then one day not. I'd miss my water, I'd miss my containers, I'd miss something. And then I'd get 4 or 5 days and then I'd miss. And I was like, okay, are you telling me I have a list of what I'm supposed to do? And I like to believe I'm a smart, capable woman, and I can't check these boxes. Like none of them were hard. Like none of them were hard. They were each thing individually. I mean, come on, they're not hard, right? And I was like, okay, Carmen, like really, you can't check these boxes? And then it was like, okay, what if I could check these boxes for 10 days? That's where my first benchmark started. Like, what if I could check all the boxes for 10 days? How far, like how many, what can I, like how many days can I stack up in a row of being consistent? And it was like, okay, once I got to 10, I didn't want to start back over at 0. So I started tracking how many days in a row I was consistent, how many days in a row I could get all my check boxes in. And when I got to 10, I was like, this is not going back to 0. I just crossed into double digits. And ultimately, I got my streak up to 200 and some days. It was like 223 days. And what ended up getting me on the 223rd day was my eating window out of all things. And it was just a mistake I made. And we were traveling and it was time changes and I didn't do it right. And I was like, I remember sitting there and when I realized I messed up my 223 days, I almost started crying. And I was like, what? But then I was so proud that I had made it to 223 days. And I was like, you know what? That's okay. That's your current streak. Start it again, right? And then but the willpower I had built in those 223 days of doing the same thing, I had more than developed the habit. I had more than developed willpower because in those 220 some days, like my only focus became, it wasn't about losing weight. It wasn't about how fast I could lose the weight. It was about checking off the boxes and doing the things that were going to get the results. That's what my whole focus became, is how consistent can I be in checking off the boxes? And so I want to challenge you ladies to go back and look at your sheets. And what I'm going to tell you is the people at the top of the leaderboard have been the most consistent. It's always how it works out. It's always how it works out. The people towards the top of the leaderboard have been the most consistent. The ones at the bottom of the leaderboard have not been the most consistent. And I'd love to tell you there's an exception to that, but I've never seen one. And you know, but this is where all of you need to go back and say, okay, how many days? What's my streak? What's my streak? How many days have I been consistent? Because all of us have a commitment threshold. We have a commitment threshold, or we have what, commitment fatigue, which means the amount of days we can be committed before we start to stray, the amount of days we can be committed before we start to wander off track. And if you want to get better, what we have to do is we have to strengthen our commitment muscle. We have to strengthen our willpower muscle, and they're kind of like cousins. And so what happened? Those first 90 days, I told you I lost 32 pounds. The second 90 days, I lost over 40 pounds. So I had less weight to lose, but I lost significantly more. That makes no logical sense. It makes no mathematical sense. It makes no weight loss sense. Typically, when you have less weight to lose, you lose less, but I lost more. And I'm telling you, the reason why is because those second 90 days, I was consistent every day. So the thing that you should be getting excited about is I completed another day. I checked off all the boxes. I nailed it. I did what I was supposed to do. That's the thing we should be getting excited about or frustrated about, not the number on the scale. Because what I'm going to tell you is if you do the things you're supposed to do, the number on the scale is going to happen. If you do the things you're supposed to do, the results will come. And it's the hardest thing for adults. It's the hardest thing for adults. You know, I work with a lot of adults and I help them start businesses and we help them pay off debt and, you know, help lose weight and all the things. And it's so wild because this summer, I taught a whole bunch of our next generation, which is our 20 and under, our kids. There was over 20 of them that I mentored to start a business. And we had this thing at one of our events called the Next Gen Marketplace. And all these kids, they started a business. Most of them never had a business. Taught them how to start a business. They came up with products. They figured out their packaging. They figured out their profit margin. They figured out their cost. And then they had this marketplace where they were selling all their products at one of our events. It got on the news. It was in the papers. Like, it was crazy. These kids were making thousands of dollars at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. But you know what was wild? Every single kid birthed and created a successful business. Do you think if I started mentoring 22 adults today that every one of them would follow directions as good as those kids did?
No.
Nope. I would hear whining. I would hear complaining. I would hear, yeah, but Carmen, I didn't have time. I couldn't get it done. I almost did all of it. At some point, we have to ask ourselves, okay, what mountain do I keep going around? What test do I keep failing? Because we're going to be tested. We're going to be tested to see how bad do we want the thing we want. And we're going to have obstacles. We're going to have obstacles that are going to stand in our way. And I can remember, and I choose to believe that there's an enemy who doesn't want to see us fit, who doesn't want to see us skinny, who doesn't want to see us healthy, because I believe what's on the other side of us getting healthy. Think about it. A lot of our insecurities stem from being overweight, whether you think that or realize that or now or not. A lot of stress and anxiety comes from this thing we call weight, lack of energy. And I believe that all of us are going to be closer to the calling on our life. There's no area, I believe, that you're not going to be better when you're healthy. None. And that belief comes from being on both ends. I am a better wife. I'm a better mom. I'm a better businesswoman. I'm a better coach. I'm a better friend now than I was at 288 pounds. There's nothing in my life that's not better. And I believe that there's a real live enemy that doesn't want us to be better, that wants to self-sabotage us, that wants us to self-sabotage. And he realizes what the chink in our armor is. And for a lot of us, it's food or it's social settings or whatever it is. And when I had the revelation or the realization or the epiphany or the visualization, whatever you want to call it, I just started picturing like, the devil standing there with the cheese and being like, come on, Carmen. You know you want some. Come on. Just take a bite. Just take a big old bite. And all of a sudden, when I started visualizing that, I was like, oh no, no, no. Like, no way in heck are you going to win. Like, no way. Like, when I had the revelation that food had been stronger than me, I don't know, there was just something that changed in my brain. There's something that started to click that hadn't quite clicked before.
And I think you hit the nail on the head, Carmen. I think it's consistency. Because full confession, like I was strong with the cake on my son's birthday, but then I mean, we had so many people bringing like cupcakes and cakes and things to the house. And so there was this like carrot cake with like the cream cheese frosting on top, just staring at me from the fridge like every day. I mean, really just another like 24 hours, but it felt like 7 days that I was looking at this carrot cake. And I did. I ended up having a bite the day after my son's birthday, which made me feel super disappointed. So to your point, it's exactly like that analogy with the brakes, like it really hit home because it's like I'm hitting the brakes. And I could sit here and psychoanalyze myself and try to understand, okay, like why are you hitting the brakes? But to your point, it's like it doesn't matter. It's like you're just hurting your own confidence and you're just ruining your own consistency. So it's like forget the why, forget if there's the devil, boogeyman, whatever it is that's up here, it doesn't matter. It's just like I need to be consistent, and consistency is the only way that I'm going to change this outcome for myself. So what will I do for the last 7 days of this phase is check every single box every single day.
So how I'm going to be consistent for this week, and I'll be honest, like the first like month or two, like I was just dealing with all these emotions and then not consistent some days. And I ended up not even like using my habit tracker just because like every day I would use it, I would always start a new line. Like I would be consistent for 2 days and then like I would, fail again. But I will say the week that I was the most consistent was actually this past week. I only had like one little like nibble on like these Arabic cookies that my mom made, but it didn't really like throw me off that much, but it felt really good being consistent. And I will say, Carmen, like you really hit me hard with that example that you had about you going dress shopping last minute. Like sometimes when I even go shopping or whatever, like I just don't even enjoy it anymore. And I want to get back to like enjoying shopping and like trying on things. And like sometimes my husband would come with me and like I would just like, I used to try on things and it used to feel so good because like I used to be at more of a slim weight and like, you know, that really like struck me hard. Like when you said that, it's like being tempted is not worth it at all. And just like, I used to always look at the scale, like the scale was like the place that I always like looked at, but I always like had my friends like tell me like just stay consistent, just stay consistent. So I would stay consistent, but then I would look at the scale and then it would get me down. So then I wouldn't be consistent. So it's like I just have to focus on one thing now. And that like hit me hard too. Like, and I wrote everything down. So I won't like I can look back at this, and watch like the YouTube videos. And the other thing that has helped me the past 2 weeks is rewatching all the YouTube videos. Like that is what got me here in the first place. And just like watching people's stories, like I was watching Naisha's story yesterday, and then I was watching Bianca's like the other like few days ago, and then I was watching like a whole season one time, like I think it was season 8 or something. So like just being like more motivated, like listening to people's stories is what will help me stay consistent too. So
All right, how will I end this last week? Where's my water? So I will just work on my timing, 'cause I'm usually like trying to get my last water in, trying to make sure I make the windows, and just needing to have more consistency in timing the day. I write down every single thing I eat and stuff like that, but often it's just the timing is off, and I'm like, I shouldn't be drinking this later. You know what I mean? I'm like right at the cutoff. So I just want to be better with being in control of time, because I do get up early. So my window is like on the other side is going to be, shorter. So being used to that, it has been tough. It's not easy. And also, I broke up with the scale like 2 months ago. So I didn't use that as my like thing. Like I do it on Monday and that's it, because doing it all the time, it made me go on this emotional thing that would make me be like, it's not worth it because it went up 3 pounds, and you're like, I ate this, I only ate that. And so I did make that decision. And, I know people like do it every single day. And that's my confession. I can't do it every day because it takes me on an emotional roller coaster. And that was not healthy for my hormones and everything else going on. So I was like, I'm going to do everything I'm supposed to do and I weigh in and it's going to show whatever I did. And so that's was something that I used for myself just to stay out of that emotional zone, because I know me and the scale for years have been like bad, a bad relationship. So
Okay. Yeah, just like everyone else, I totally resonate with what you're teaching us, the consistency part. It was proven for me and everybody else who's done this program. But in the beginning, I was really consistent until I got sick. And so that is my motivation, because that's where I lost the bulk of the 14 pounds so far. So you'd think that I'd lose it being sick, but I think with all the fluids that I was given, whatever happened, I lost the weight when I was being consistent. So I'm personally looking forward to just jumping back into that, because I've already seen it work. So I know that it works, and I'm excited to get back to it and get everything done and checked off. Um, it's frustrating for me when I can't because of what I'm going through right now. So I think the whole time I don't want to make it an excuse, but it's kind of been a big deal in my life right now. So I'm thankful. I've even told people, I'm like so thankful that I started this program before I got sick. It's like done. I mean, like I'm so much stronger. My body's stronger. You know, my belly, my pregnancy belly is stronger. And so all these things are really great. So I cannot wait to kick this stinking thing and get back to it. So each day I have been genuinely trying, but I'm gonna do what I can to check those boxes off. And yeah, so I'm committing that the next 7 days, no matter how I feel, because I am off the medicine and I'm like on my way out, even though the doctors told me that it's going to be a while. I can do it. I can move my body in some way for 30 minutes, and I will get everything in this week. Today's already, I've got everything checked off today, so I can do it.
So
My biggest inconsistency is eating my containers spaced out, like spacing them out. There are so many times, and I know that that affects my weight loss. I know that it does. And I use the excuse of busy, right? Because, I've been very busy the last few weeks, and it's just an excuse. So there's plenty of times I go into my kitchen at 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening, and I have 3 protein, all 4 veggies, 1 carb, my fat, and my seed, my orange container still left to go. So here I am, like getting all this food, and usually, I'm like, like halfway through, I'm like, I don't think I can eat the rest of this because I'm trying to eat it all at once. And so yes, I'm staying within the containers and I'm getting everything in and within my 12 hours, but the way I'm eating it is not great. And I know this, I know this. And there's many times where I just have coffee and water before 3 p.m., and I'll have my Energize and a fruit after, or not Energize, but my Recover and a fruit after I work out. But then sometimes it's 3, 4, 5 o'clock before I eat anything else. And then I try to eat it all. Because I've got all these containers to get in. And so sometimes I don't get all my containers in because I just can't eat that much at one time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to commit to spacing out my containers starting tomorrow, because I did not do good at that today. I did finish my containers, but it was at about 6:30 when I had a huge meal. And so spacing that out and not waiting so long to eat, taking a freaking lunch. So that's what I'm going to be working on this week, and that's what I will do.
Consistency wise, I've been doing really well. So for me, it's a longer term goal here. 146 days. I'm getting on a jet plane and I'm celebrating my birthday in London in Wonderland. So I don't care about 7 days. I want the whole 146 that it's going to take me to get there. So this week was an anomaly for me. I did gain some weight, but it was that time of the month and I was tired and so it's just recognizing my body is gonna, I'm actually thankful, just to reiterate what you said to Natasha, that I've weighed myself every day, because I also had a really unhealthy relationship with the scale, but the scales told me my BMI is going down. I'm 7 points away from being no longer obese. I mean, that's pretty amazing. It's showing that my muscle mass is growing. It's showing that my water weight is improving. So I'm not so scared in the morning. Like I joked, I said I did jump on just to see if I could lose something this morning, and it didn't work in my favor, but that's okay. And I'm not upset with it, because I know it was just not my time because of being a woman, and I'll get it back next week, no problem. So, but yeah, it's that 146 days that I'm looking out for. It's getting my eyes on the prize, and that'll get me through the 8 Christmas parties, I kid you not, that I have next week and the following week. It's going to get me through New Year's and traveling. It's going to get me through, whatever comes up between, I don't know, Valentine's Day and St. Patrick's Day. It seems like every holiday has got food. So yeah. So I'm just gonna march through those next few months, and I'm thankful I have this program for the next 90. I'm thankful for you ladies that you want to continue on this journey past that next 90, and let's do this. Away we go.
Yeah. And I love that perspective too, because everything's perspective. So when you shift the perspective from focusing on the scale to looking at the BMI, how it's gone down and where you're at and your muscle mass, and then even a lot of times it'll tell you, where your age is. And it was always fun for me to be like, oh, like when can I get under when can I get to where I'm at and then under, right? And so it's focusing on the improvements versus focusing on, again, so many times we focus on the wrong things. that lead us to frustration, that lead us to all these things, versus training your brain what to focus on. And really, focus is such a superpower for people, and most people walk around focusing on the 100% complete wrong thing. And so I think, thank you for sharing that, because that's a perfect example of how to start mending that relationship with the scale, is not just focusing on the number, but focusing on all the other things that the scale tells us, because nowadays they tell us so many things. And so as we come into this 12th week, I am so excited for you guys. I can't wait to see how many of you are able to check all those boxes and really prove to yourself what you're capable of. Like, really show yourself that, yeah, not only was I built to do hard things, I can do hard things. I'm doing hard things. Like, think about it. Most of the world is going to wake up in a month and be like, hey, I want to lose weight. And you guys are going to have built momentum coming into the holidays, going past the New Year's. And this next year will be the year that you're no longer having this problem. You're no longer going around this mountain. That if you get stranded at a Dillard's and you got to go in and find a dress, you can walk into any store, anytime, anywhere, and be like, help me, and walk out with something. Like, that's what you're going for. That's what you're fighting for. And I'm really proud of all of